Hello friends, this is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming and welcome to another Path of Exile video. Today I'm going to be doing a different build than my previous miner. Those of you who may have been looking forward towards the Icicle Miner conclusion, I just want to let you know it is a generically strong build. You can continue to upgrade your gear. If you want to get fancy with it, you can use a Gloomfang and Snake Pit in your right ring slot and then throw chain on instead of pierce, and you can get a lot of extra damage that way. And Ziggy D did a video on it just today, so I will include a link to that video in the description below so you can check that out. I'd follow Ziggy D anyway, I like him a lot, one of my favorites. And I am going to instead go on to a tornado shot miner. And this one is going to be using the Coated Shrapnel Unique Jewel 3 times in order to add a huge amount of flat physical damage to our tornado shots. I'll get into more details, but it ends up literally doubling our damage. We're not really utilizing poison as our main source of damage, so it is going to be a little bit different than what you would think when you look at Coated Shrapnel. You think it's going to be a poison build. We do utilize a few poison nodes for some supplemental damage, but mostly we ignore it entirely and go for pure on-hit damage. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the build. Alright, so here we are with my repurposed Saboteur like a surly drunk, and I am now using Atziri's Splendor for my 6th link, and I'm currently using Tornado Shot Mines. So interesting thing, in order to use them, you have to use the support gem High Impact Mind, which allows you to make your bow or wand skills into a mine, which is very strong. And I currently am also using Death's Opus in order to get 2 additional arrows and 100% crit multi. It's not the best bow, but the 2 additional projectiles really scales heavily since I throw 5 mines at a time. Each additional projectile, it's kind of like a multiplicative source of damage. I also intend at some point to get a quiver with additional arrow and a enchant for an additional arrow. I'm currently level 88. I haven't been playing this character, been playing my summoner. It's kind of like Cyclone, where I've really gotten into this league, and I'm probably going to play a lot of summoner, but I'm still going to try to bring new builds while I do it. Current damage is 7,000, looks very low, but as you've seen in the video, clears red maps very quickly. That's because the 7,000 damage is per arrow. We currently shoot 7 arrows, and then we have 5 traps at a time. So we can basically multiply that 7,000 or 8,000. It kind of depends how many traps we have, and also how many charges we have, and also how often we've detonated things. While I'm mapping and have my power charges and frenzy charges up, it's about 12,000 damage per arrow times 35, but we can also do a chain detonation, get a bunch onto the ground here. So currently we have 20 that go off, and that can be significantly more. So hundreds of thousands of damage in about a second. Very good, especially for this stage of the game. And of course you can also do the thing where you preload the mines onto the ground and then continue to throw them, creating an ever increasing stack of mines. So very, very strong. And currently we don't have everything optimized just yet. Kind of don't have any defensive setup, but we're still doing okay. This is currently the skill tree. I've decided to get rid of this part of the tree all along. As you can see, only 3,900 health. The way we're surviving is mostly just acrobatics, phase acrobatics, and high evasion, or fairly high evasion, 6,532. We do want a helmet with some good evasion if possible, but currently I still have this one for my Icicle Mines. I'm going to look for a Tornado Shot Lab Enchant, and with the +1 arrow, that'll increase our damage by basically 15% more. So the way that the damage per arrow works for this, and just to show you really quick, the links I have are Tornado Shot, High Impact Mine, minefield, greater multiple projectiles, vicious projectiles, and charge mines, and that's the order I would prioritize them in. So if you only have a 4-link, I'd go tornado shot, high impact mine, minefield, and GMP. And and then after that, add vicious projectiles and then charge mines to get your charges up. So the interesting thing about this build, or what I think is the most interesting thing about this build, is the use of coated shrapnel. And I currently am using 3 coated shrapnels, 2 of which are corrupted. I want to get a 3rd corrupted one. They're not very expensive. They're in between 3 and 8 chaos currently. But you want to make sure if you're going to do this that you have the 3 to 6 damage. They do have a damage range. At minimum, they could be 2 to 4 damage. It's very significant. But what they do is they make it so passive skills in the radius also grant traps and mines deal 3 to 6 added physical. As you can see, I pulled this up. I have 32 passives allocated in the radius of these. So it works out to be 96 to 192 flat physical damage. That means I currently have a very similar amount. In fact, it's basically doubling the damage of my Death Opus. And I can show you this. I have 7,045 damage per arrow. If I remove these, it goes down to 3,593. So it's almost literally doubling my damage. Just short. It's like 98 or 99% increased damage. Very, very powerful. I have a 4% increased damage on this one and 9% increased crit chance. The damage is going to be a little bit better because we're going to have plenty of crit chance. We gain crit chance for placing mines, and then we gain crit chance through power charges. So currently we only have 38%, but when we detonate mines, it goes up to 46%. And then we'll get another 11 or 12% on top of that when we have power charges on. So really strong, something like 60-something% crit chance. Currently not using a Diamond Flask and currently not using a Dying Sun, which is going to be brought up. Right now, because I bought some stuff on my Summoner, I can't really afford a Dying Sun. I haven't really looked into the price, so maybe I can, but I'm kind of saving currency right now. But its Series Promise is very powerful, brings us up to 8,150, and then of course scales even harder. I don't have a perfect. In fact, I have pretty mediocre at best its Series Promise. Looking for a perfect one will eke you out a little bit more damage. So as you can see, lots of work to do on this one still. My other gear is just life, resistance, accuracy, flat damage. Life, resist, cold damage, which scales with our hatred. We're currently running hatred, skitterbots, and precision. Still using the charisma in order to better allow us to run our auras. Along with, I'm currently running an Enlighten, only level 2. Even a level 2 was 40 chaos. So getting a level 3 is like 1.5 exalts, 2 exalts, something like that at the moment. If you want more mana, you can definitely do that. I don't really find it necessary. I never run out of mana really, so it's not too much of an issue for me. But yeah, hatred, precision, and summon skitterbots. I currently only have 97% accuracy, but I am remedying that by grabbing acuity, which I'm going to get all the way through here. Normally the attack speed would be worthless, it still is, but it does give percent accuracy, and it also gives the 3 to 6 additional physical damage for traps and mines, and then this will give flat accuracy as well, along with dexterity, which will give us accuracy and evasion. So by the time I get all the way through acuity and 2 more levels, I should have the additional, I should have 100% chance to hit. The only poison scaling I'm getting is Fatal Toxins and Hunter's Gambit. The main reason I'm getting Fatal Toxins is because it has the additional 3 to 6 So our current chance to poison is 95%, and our poisons on regular is 541 to 1120, and then on crits it's 760 to 1575. That's not insignificant. Compared to our regular damage, it is a little insignificant, but dozens of projectiles will hit an enemy per second usually. So it does work out to, 20, 30,000 extra DPS over the course of a couple of seconds on on monsters like stragglers as you go by, and can help you clear things up. So it is actually fairly powerful. And then also, we are pretty much just doing that. Outside of that, another good thing about doing a bow mine build is you're pretty efficient in terms of like your crit chance stuff with that as well, because you have the bow crit King of the Hill centralized. You may have noticed in the clip that I was knocking back the enemies in the and you may not have because I was off screening them, but in Blights you actually knock back enemies with King of the Hill, including bosses. It says knocked back enemies if you get a critical strike chance with a bow. That actually makes it very, very difficult for enemies to even reach the central point of the Blight. So it makes Blights really easy, especially considering you have hatred and you're critting, so you're going to be chilling and also freezing a lot. And it makes it really great for a Blight. Really good for Blight encounters. The big AoE clear projectiles are great for Blight in general. The weakness being proximity shields, but because they're mines, you can actually just throw it inside of the proximity shields, which you don't have. With a normal projectile build, you have to like walk up inside the projectile or inside the proximity shield and attack it. Really obnoxious. With mines, you can throw it into the proximity shield and it will take care of it. So very strong in that regard as well. The important things to know, I do have destructive apparatus allocated with my enchantment on my amulet here. So I'm able to get the mine damage, mine duration, throwing speed, and reduced damage dealt to nearby enemies up to 10%. Quite strong. And I am also getting piercing shots, so I don't have to use Pierce, which opens up the use of Vicious Projectiles. Vicious Projectiles is the only other way that I am scaling my poison, so basically just the damage over time multiplier from these two. I'm currently not taking Perfect Agony. If I were going to run Perfect Agony, I would run this a little bit differently. Rather than taking this here and then these, I would instead go over this way, grab reflexes to fix my accuracy, put the shrapnel here, but this one will only be able to get 7 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be less damage than this node here. And if you're going to do that, I would rather run Rain of Arrows, and then you would use specifically, I actually have the gems here. You would use Rain of Arrows, Vile Toxins, and then probably Efficacy rather than Charged Mine. You would also use a higher DPS bow instead of Death's Opus, since the additional arrows don't work. You can also do this build Elemental. It's a little bit harder. You would use Wrath instead of Hatred. You could still use a Death's Opus if you'd want, but there's other options as well for high elemental DPS bows. You could just get a high elemental DPS rare. You'd have to scale your additional arrows. You would pretty much require the arrow enchant or the arrow corrupt and an additional arrow onto your quiver. So it would be quite a bit more expensive. And then you would take all of these jewel slots, just instead of using coated shrapnel, you would use very powerful Abyss jewels with a lot of added elemental damage to bow attacks and flat elemental damage in general. You would also get rid of the poison, and you could use that to get more jewel slots, or down to lethality to get more crit chance with your bows. So in the end, that would probably be much stronger, but it would also be much more expensive. This is definitely a budget version, and as you can see, it functions perfectly fine in red maps. I haven't had very much trouble. I have died a decent amount, because with this health pool, you will get one shot occasionally. You're not going to get hit a lot, because of all the dodge. Survivalist gives you additional evade as well. So you have a lot of dodge, evade, and it's just, excuse me, very, very powerful defensive mechanic. But occasionally you will get hit by a big hit and you will die. So that is the unfortunate bit. Now, that is pretty much everything about the build. I'm going to put a link to the path of building as I currently have it in the description below. I hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye!